1935, fascist Italy, led by dictator Benito Mussolini, decided to expand its colonial empire in Africa and take over Ethiopia. By that time, Ethiopia was the only fully independent state on the continent. Back in 1896, its inhabitants were able to defeat the Italian colonists and defend their independence. Since then, Rome
didn't. Haile Selassie.
Rome craved for revenge for the humiliating defeat. In the morning of October 3, 1935, without any end, the fascists attacked Ethiopia and bombarded it most severely. Ethiopian armed
They did, that's for sure.
forces fought courageously, but the brutality of the Italians knew no bounds. They used not only massive bombing attacks on civilians, but also chemical weapons, toxic gases. This changed the course of the war. As a result of the occupation of Ethiopia by the fascists, 760,000 people were killed.
Yep, that's true.
The capture of the African state was committed with Europe's tacit approval. Britain and France recognized the annexation, giving the green light to further fascist expansion in the world and paving the way for the outbreak of World War II.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
Welcome back to Crosstalk Bullhorns. I'm Peter Lavelle.
Here we come with Trump.
To remind you, we're discussing some real news. Okay, George, I want to go to you. Kind of a variation on the theme of what we talked about with the genocide case against Israel and establishment. And the establishment in the United States is really revving up the engine there to derail Donald Trump.
Derail Donald Trump.
Trump's presidential bid, but through lawfare, not through the ballot box. It's lawfare. And we have this defamation case that came through. Absurd on the face of it. I don't want to go into the details. I don't want to waste our time on it. But, you know, a punitive cost is going to be...
Going to be $83 million.
Making Trump pay what's it, $82 million,
No, it's 80.
something like that. Okay, I mean, and you know, we went through this before, but this is just the beginning.
Beginning of what? What is this the beginning of?
This is the first domino to go, George.
It is the first domino because. As we were discussing in the first half, the Biden administration is at historic lows. I mean, its poll numbers are just through the floor. It's horrific, and
especially Russian polls, made up polls.
Clearly, it only has one strategy, which is let's make this election about Donald Trump. Preferably, if we can just simply get rid of him, one way or another, we can just kick him off the ballot, or just put him in prison. That's even better. And so this was the...
and plus we have...
Oh, yeah. You don't want to do that now. We don't want to put Trump in prison now, do we, Mr. Rush?
And they have Nikki Haley in the wings, right?
Exactly, they have Nikki Haley in the wings. So now you have this absolutely absurd decision. This obviously mentally deranged woman making up stories. She didn't do something or other happened 30 years ago. She doesn't know when it happened. She didn't report it.
Nikki Haley has mental issues. She was in the United Nations
at the time or anything else. And now I think, may well be next week, but certainly in the coming days, New York State will deem that the Trump organization committed fraud and will hit him with something like a $400 million fine, again, with the goal of bankrupting him so he doesn't have...
Okay, here we go. See how they're smiling?
Any cash at all. And then, of course, we have all of the criminal cases. We've got no less than 4 criminal cases that are being brought. This is really quite extraordinary. I mean, it's never happened in any democratic state that you're bringing in all this against one person.
Oh, he's a real good friend of Mr. Putin. Trump is.
So a particular person who's the leading political opponent. And that, I think this is just a reflection of just how desperate the situation of the political establishment is. That formula, well, let's just simply call Trump a fascist and a racist and be done with it, and we'll win the election. They know that isn't going to work. So they really have to go in for some rough stuff now.
Rough stuff, yeah. I mean, and I think
Mr. Rush Limbaugh incarnated.
Is on the table. I think everybody knows what I mean too. But Martin, this is the most fundamentally anti-democratic approach you could ever imagine. Okay, they in the name of democracy, they're subverting democracy. I think there should be a trial. I think there should be a jury. It's called the American people and the ballot. That's where you have the trial.
Oh, it's getting really...
In public, with paper ballots, hopefully. Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, yeah,
but the problem with that, and the polls are indicating that, which is that fewer and fewer Americans now have confidence in the whole system. You know, what George called the formula. You know, a recent poll said as much as 18% of voters wouldn't bother turning up to vote. Neither candidate might be too worried about that. But for the...
Well, that explains why the Republican Party is suppressing
the Biden camp to put all their eggs in one basket, and apparently, are jubilant that Trump is now going to be the candidate. I find that odd. But for them to do that, I think that puts them on a losing strategy, because this formula...
Oh, we got to have... Oh, Russia's behind Mr. Trump? I'm surprised.
That George mentioned, it's... How do you sum it up? It's... We go to the polls and we don't vote for our candidate. We vote for a protest vote to oust the other candidate. And it started, probably arguably, with Hillary and Trump. And that was a turning point in American politics for me. But now we're continuing the same theme. And a lot of people who are going to vote for Trump this time, I think, will be swing voters who are tired of Biden, who may have traditionally voted in the Democratic camps. I think there's a number of key states where Biden's going to lose because he's lost.
You're hoping.
The Jewish vote, he's lost the Muslim vote, he's lost the young person's vote. And now he thinks the way to do this is to put everything into the black vote. So he's going for the black votes, and he's starting off in South Carolina, where arguably, which was installed in the first time round. But when we talk about getting nasty, on the Trump side, he's got so much more now to throw at Biden than he did against Hillary Clinton. And there's a whole list of things which we have.
Oh, the Russians like Trump. I don't know.
I've got time to go to, but let's just go to the top one, the economy. The Bidenomics, I can't even say it, help me out here. What is that? What it means is, on paper, we may be doing quite well with the economy. Our elites are doing well. All our friends,
yes, it depends on who. Yes,
all
exactly.
our friends at the country club are buying themselves new Jags, and new Learjets. But that hasn't trickled down. The trickle-down effect in this great economy hasn't worked. And many, many Americans, humble Americans who don't understand too much about economics and politics, they decide.
Ronald Reagan started trickle-down economics.
About economics by gas pump prices and what they pay at the supermarket. And Biden's record on both of those is really bad. So he's got a real problem there, But again, Trump, every time we come on our show here and we talk about Trump's cases, every single time, without fail, his popularity rises each time. And it's interesting that now if you notice with his speeches...
Yeah? Well, we're working on it. Hopefully people will wake up.
He is more and more referring now to the legal system, to the judiciary system in America. And I think that complaint, the more he gets hit, the more he takes the podium and talks about how bad the legal system is and how much need there is in America for reform of the judiciary. I think that resonates more and more and more.
Well, but I think...
And you're helping it resonate more and more and more, called the rule of law.
Does resonate, George, is that if they can do this to Donald Trump, and I think this is the subliminal message that people get, if they can do it to him, with lawfare, they can do it to anyone. I mean, Donald Trump...
Lawfare. Oh, a new term. Lawfare, huh?
Has deep pockets, okay? Very deep pockets compared to the average person, obviously. And I think this is what is so disturbing, is that, it's not even if you like Trump or not, because I don't think that's part of the equation for the vast majority of people. We know who he is. That's what's most important. We know who he is, okay? He wasn't a dictator in office. He didn't do the...
You Russians know who he is. Well, he's been there many times, hasn't he? You know who he is.
Things that they claim that he will do if he returns. But just these... Look, all three of us are...
He talks like an American. He's a Russian. Probably a Russian agent. I'm sure he is.
Basically intelligent people. But when I look at these cases, George, I scratch my head. I don't understand what they're getting at. And I think that's what people are taking on. This is just the con. I mean, this doesn't make any sense.
George got it. George said money. It's about money.
Yeah, no, that...
Yeah, Russian money, dark money.
That's right. And then when you think about this, if you go back to, let's say, America in 1984. In 1984, Americans had faith in their system. They thought that, well, yeah, we got the FBI, we have the CIA, Pentagon. They're all basically doing a good job. They're all doing whatever they...
Yeah, 1984 is when Ronald Reagan created trickle-down economics.
...can in order to make America stronger, better, more successful. Now, people don't believe that. And more seriously, the people who don't believe it were the ones who used to be supporters of America, the American way of life, American government. The people who enthusiastically voted for Reagan in 1984 now believe that the system is rigged. They believe that
Yeah, you hit it. Reagan was elected in 1984. That's when trickle down started.
Persecute their political opponents. That's a very dangerous situation to be in. And that's why I think Trump is getting this resonance. He starts attacking, the state, that they're persecuting me. These are political hacks who are coming after me and they want to send me to prison. And people say, yeah, that's it. That's who these FBI is. And the problem for...
I think I voted for Reagan in 1984 because of the Iran crisis.
Biden is that core support, the blacks. Oh, well, we can get 90 to 95% of the black vote and, get the Hispanics. Yeah, we'll get 75% of them. And that's our formula. We will be reelected. That isn't going to work because Trump is eating into that black vote because I think many blacks say, yeah, that's what we've been saying all these years.
Yeah, but what's really interesting, and I'm glad you go back to 1984, George. I think it's a good benchmark. I mean, back in 1984, the Republicans were the party of the rich, the Democrats were the party of the poor. That's very simplistic, but I think it holds water. But Martin, the Republican Party represents the poor, the powerless. And that's the attraction that Trump has for them, is that they have no power, and he has a lot of power. And we can see what they're doing.
Yeah, Rich is worth
doing to him. We see an inversion here, and it's not about race; it's about class. At the end of the day, Martin.
But in 1984, though, America had a significant amount of clout around the world, particularly in the Middle East. And, to make the comparison today, what I think voters are beginning to recognize...
That's what you're spinning, isn't it, buddy?
...is more and more. That stupid comment that Biden made just before he was elected about Saudi Arabia being a pariah state, how that is really biting him on the arse now. Because, what's the difference between 1984 and now is that the Middle East, particularly countries like Saudi Arabia and Russia together, now control international gas pump prices. And that's really going to hurt Biden. That's really going to hit him.
I don't know. Pays $2.35 a gallon. The other day for regular.
Very hard because, people will use that as a benchmark. But going back to Trump, though, I mean, we do know who Trump is. He's pretty enigmatic. I mean, he's really in your face. You know how he operates. But I think a lot of people in America are angry at this system, and it's beginning to generate debate and talk on all levels about the system.
Or maybe it was 321. Oh, I don't know. But still, it's about the same as it was.
And I think people may well, if we do this same formula again, people may well start lobbying and writing and chatting on social media about it's time that America had perhaps something like the European proportional representation model, because this polarized model, which
I don't know, Martin. I'm far more pessimistic.
Sure you are. Sort of like Russian.
George, I mean, if it ever got down to that kind of debate, then the elites will just say, we don't need elections anymore. I mean, that's where they will go. They'll say, it's because of the Trumpians and the MAGA. They destroyed democracy, so we'll just coronate Hillary Clinton as queen. There's more likely going that way than changing the system that would actually enfranchise.
You're a creep. You're Rush Limbaugh from Moscow. But you live in the United States.
People. 30 seconds, George.
No, I think that's right, because there all sorts of things may happen in the next 9-10 months. Maybe even to prevent an election from taking place. Extreme circumstances.
It's possible. It's possible.
Yeah. Possible. Yeah.
And really, when you think of it, what does Biden really care about? Biden cares about all of these wars and all these interventions. That's what he's been about throughout his career. He doesn't care much about domestic policy. But when it comes to Ukraine, Israel, that's what he...
You're a damn liar, sir. I'm glad. Look at you can tell you're
cares
lying.
most passionately about. I think the public senses it. He doesn't care about us. He keeps the border open.
George, he gets his own war, his uniquely own war, Yemen. Okay, so he'll go down in the history books. All right, gentlemen, that's all the time we have. I want to thank my guests in Marrakesh and in Budapest, and I want to thank our viewers for watching us here at RT. See you next time. Remember, Rostock rules.
Marrakesh and Budapest, Hungary. Ha! Here we go. Russian television. I used to listen to Radio Moscow as a kid.
A new video of alleged abuse by an officer. Today, a sheriff's deputy in Columbia, South Carolina, forcibly removed a student from a classroom at Spring Valley High School.
I saw him just talking to her.
Oh, yes, this is coming from Russian TV. Yep, you got to bring this up, don't you?
Whispering to her, and initially, I didn't think it was a problem because I knew that she was just this quiet student in the class.
Someone looks at the police officer and says, here is law enforcement at its worst. Clearly attacking, abusing power and influence.
Yep, there we go. All right, what else you got to say, you Ruskies, you?
And then there are others who says this is what's wrong with us. Poorly behaved, undisciplined Black children.
He was there enforcing a law that made it a crime to, quote, disturb schools in any way. That means any disturbance that any kid causes in school is a crime.
Using force is never pretty, but necessary.
Okay, Russian TV. Putin TV.
People are never going to change their minds. Some people will never change their minds about the video. They think I was wrong, and that's it.
There you go. Good old, what, truth over what? Freedom over censorship? Poppycock. I was in the Air Force in Germany, you guys.
Iran denies.